Hello, my name is Matilda, and I am your friendly neighborhood art nerd. I'm going to be painting 4 different nostalgic paintings today. This idea is very much inspired by Aliki Karkoulia, whose name I probably butchered, and her newest video where she draws nostalgia-themed drawings in her sketchbook using paint pens. Her video made me feel really nostalgic, and then it also made me think about what I would paint if I had to paint something that is very quintessentially nostalgic to me. I also ended up taking this as an opportunity to paint stuff that I have a hard time painting and to use a medium that I'm less familiar with than watercolors. I ended up using gouache for these paintings, and while I'm familiar with gouache, I'm not super familiar with it, so that was also a bit of a struggle. I also ended up painting things like hands and scenery, which I don't paint as much, and therefore I'm not as experienced with painting it. These two factors combined made this painting experience challenging, but also really fun. The first painting I did is inspired by going to music festivals with my friends in the summer. Usually when I think about nostalgic stuff, I always think about summer somehow, and for me music festivals is a big part of the summertime. This is a picture of my friend, basically, that I painted. She's wearing a flower crown and sort of a dad shirt, as you do at music festivals, and it's just a really fond memory of going to festivals with my friends. Another thing I like to do in the summer, other than go to music festivals, is to go on these long walks at dusk. And back in the day, when I used to do these walks more often, I would take a lot of pictures because it was so pretty everywhere. And so this painting is inspired by those type of pictures that I used to take when I would go on these walks. The third painting is inspired by the wooden playhouse that we have in our garden. This playhouse is where my brother and I and my sisters and I used to play when we were smaller, and now we're all sort of too grown up to play in it anymore. So now it's been taken over by the plants that grow in the garden. The fourth painting is of 2 people holding hands. And I was thinking about this the other day because I've been watching these teen romance shows. They're addictive. Don't judge me. And they made such a big deal out of holding hands, and the people in the shows were so overwhelmed and flustered by just the act of holding hands with their crush. And I was thinking about that, and I remember thinking and feeling that way when I was younger, and now I don't feel that way about stuff like that anymore. And it was just so interesting to me. I was completely, by watching those shows, it completely put me back in that spot of being so overwhelmed and so nervous and all this stuff about holding people's hand, and it was just a tender and vulnerable time, and it just really reminded me of my childhood. After the paint was dry, I finished the pieces with a brush pen, and then they were done. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed getting a glimpse into what I get nostalgic about, and thanks again to Aliki Karkoulia for sort of making me aware that this is a thing that I could do, and I hope that other people will do this. It would be really interesting to see what other people get nostalgic about and how they choose to represent that in their art. I think that would be really interesting. Anyways, like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Bye!